Hello, and welcome to Caregiver Chronicles. My name is Sarah, and I'm here with my friend Jen.
Hello.
And we are here to talk about the time we started out in healthcare. I have been a CNA since 2003. I was 17, a junior in high school when I started. I've been a med tech since 2008, and I worked mostly on an Alzheimer's unit in a nursing home when I first started, and then transitioned to home care for a little while, where I did both geriatric and pediatric, and anything and everything in between with home care. And then I transitioned to work in an assisted living facility, where I work with Jen currently, and I've worked there for almost 10 years now. I started in healthcare at 17. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life. I had no real plans. A friend of mine was a CNA. My guidance counselor thought it might be a good thing for me. I was always trying to help others. So she suggested that I take a CNA class, which I did. I got high school credit for, which was really cool. And I just fell in love with the job, and I just kind of fell into it. I've been asked often why I haven't gone further into nursing, and the reason is simply because I just don't want to. I like being a CNA. I like being a med tech. And that's my story. So, Jen, how about you? What's your title, and how long have you been in healthcare?
So I am a CNA. I got my license a little over a year ago now. My first job when I was 16 was actually at the same assisted living facility Sarah and I work at now, except I was on wait staff. So I was on wait staff for about 3 years, and that's probably when I first became interested in working in healthcare, and I just fell in love with the elderly population. I just adore them. So then 2 years ago, I got into nursing school, and then last summer, I really wanted to get some experience. I wanted to get out into the healthcare field, and so I went to get my CNA license. And I'm so grateful that I did that, because I've just learned so much working in the assisted living facility. And yeah, I think CNAs have a really special relationship with residents and patients. And my aunt she is a CNA. She's been a CNA for so many years, and she always told me that the best nurses that she's worked with were CNAs before, and I totally understand why now. I think we just have such a special position, and a lot of the times CNAs are the first ones to recognize a change in a patient or a resident, because we see these people day in and day out, and we know them so well. So I think CNAs have a really special role in the healthcare team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's exactly why I stayed a CNA. Mm-hmm. I like that patient contact. I like the care. I like, going in and making people laugh every day.
Yeah, exactly.
I love doing meds too, but I don't want to be stuck behind a desk. Me personally, I hate paperwork. But I have a lot of respect for nurses and RNs. They're super important, because, without our nurses, we can't do our job. A lot of them will say without us, they can't do their job either.
Right.
And we're blessed to work in a facility where our director of nurses recognizes that.
Right. We have an amazing RN that we work under.
Exactly. And she is fantastic about going on the floor and helping us if there's a situation or a crisis. I think Jen and I have both witnessed that a couple times at least.
Especially during this pandemic, she's just been amazing. She'll be there on the weekend. She stays for like 12 hours a day. She's just awesome.
Oh, yeah. Yep. During the height of everything, I think she was there every single day.
Oh, yeah. She's just amazing. So
we're very lucky. And, I think pretty much everybody we work with is really great. I think we have one of the best teams I've ever worked with.
Yeah, I agree.
But I say that as someone who's worked in, nursing homes and so many other places before, that we just have a really good team. We just have really good teamwork. So what are your goals in the healthcare field, Jen?
So I will have my BSN in 2 years, my bachelor's in nursing, and then I'll take my NCLEX to be an RN. And what I love about nursing is there's just so many opportunities in the profession. There's so many paths you can go down. So I really like how much it has to offer. I would love to continue working with the elderly, or I'd love to work in labor and delivery. There's just so much I can do. So I'm really excited about what it has to offer. And, you know, who knows where I'll end up. But I'll probably do like a lot of different things with it, because you could work in a school, you could work a 9 to 5 in a doctor's office, work in a hospital, nursing home. So, yeah.
Yep, I could see you being a labor and delivery nurse.
I know, I would love to do
I
that.
could picture you doing that. Not me, though. I love kids, but the childbirth process is not something I didn't even want to see it when I was going through it. Never mind someone else, but that's okay, to each their own.
Right.
I'm squeamish about those types of things, although I can clean poop all day long.
Oh yeah, we definitely see it all. So.
Yeah, I'm glad I haven't seen babies being born yet. I watched that video. I know how it.
I think it would be kind of fun to work with babies, because it would be like a totally different end of the lifespan, because I work with the elderly right now. So I think it would be interesting to work with a totally different population.
The contrast.
Right.
The beginning versus the end. Yep.
Yes.
So what's the best part of working in healthcare?
The best part, I would say, we are just in such a special position to touch the lives of so many different people, and we get to meet so many people and grow relationships with our residents and patients, and that's just so awesome to me. And especially with the elderly, like, they have so much wisdom and they have so many years on me that they've taught me so much, and I just love hearing about their stories and what they've accomplished and gone through in their lives, because there's some pretty awesome people that we know and take care of.
Definitely.
Yeah, and we just serve so many different roles, like, just as healthcare workers. Like, not only are we caregivers, but we're teachers, we're advocates. Like, we do so many different things, and yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So what's the worst part of working in healthcare?
Ooh, the worst part?
The juicy stuff.
Well, I would say the worst part is, or the hardest part, I think it takes a lot of sacrifice. Like, we give up a lot of time with our own families to take care of other families, if that makes sense. Like, we give up a lot of our holidays, our weekends. Like, we don't work the best hours sometimes. So that part kind of stinks sometimes, but it's also pretty rewarding.
Yeah.
So,
no,
yeah.
I agree with that in a way.
Yeah.
In another way, Christmas was always one of my favorite holidays to work.
Yeah, like, the holidays are
Thanksgiving.
kind of fun to work too, so.
Yeah, while it seems like it might suck having to work the holidays, you know, you have that one resident or that one patient who didn't get to see their family because maybe they live far away, maybe they don't have a lot of family, and just going there just for them, to comfort them and making them smile that day is just huge.
Yeah. And we have such an awesome team that it's always fun to be around everyone on the holidays. And especially with the pandemic this past year, we worked so many holidays that the residents weren't able to see their families, like Easter, Mother's Day, Father's Day. So, yeah. Yeah,
those were this year in particular, those were tough. Easter was hard. I think Easter was really hard for all of us, but
I would agree.
We did it. Yeah, you were there Easter. It was just something. It was unlike anything. It almost didn't feel like Easter this year. You know?
It really didn't. Yeah.
But you know, hopefully where we work right now, visitor restrictions have been lifted. so there are visitation that are scheduled, but hopefully by Thanksgiving, residents will be able to go be with their families.
I know.
But honestly, who knows with the second wave coming and all these things that they're predicting.
I know, so we have to be prepared for the worst, hope for the best.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see how that holiday goes, and I think in future episodes I'll have to keep updated. We'll have to do an episode just on holidays. So what was your best day as a CNA?
My best day?
Yeah.
Let's see. I don't know if a certain day stands out to me, but I would say just any day that you actually feel appreciated for the work you do, or if a resident just a resident saying thank you and actually you can feel their appreciation, that's always so special because a lot of our work goes unnoticed. So I think that makes it all worth it when you actually feel appreciated by a resident and you can they thank you for what you've done. I would say that's always a good day.
I agree with that too. That's probably been one of my best days. I think another probably best day was we had a resident who was sent out of our building that was COVID positive, and the day she came back was probably a really good day for me.
That was definitely a great thing to be celebrated.
That was huge. I think I almost cried. I almost cried when I heard she had it, and then when she came back I almost cried that she was all better. I was so happy. Which I'm not like an emotional person. I sound like I am on this podcast because so far every episode
You're really not an emotional person.
But I'm not an emotional person. I'm pretty strong, but also like my 2 episodes I'm talking about my kids being diagnosed with autism, so
that's pretty fair to be emotional for.
And there's just certain things, but I have to say that was probably one of my best days. Do you know your worst day? Do you think?
My worst day, I would say just like the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, just those days in April, like you said, Easter was pretty tough because that was at the height of the pandemic, and the residents, it was just so tough seeing the residents quarantine in their rooms. They had to eat all their meals in their rooms, so they couldn't even see each other, let alone their families. And we watched a lot of residents decline and become depressed during this time. And it, like, as a healthcare worker, almost felt like helpless because we showed up to work every day and made sure these residents are safe. But other than that, there was nothing we could really do because it's just safest for them to be in their rooms at that time. And, we had to cut off visitation. So that was the safest thing for them at that time. But it was really tough working during those days.
No, I definitely agree with that too, Jen. I think one thing that, even though we only have one patient in our building with COVID, we've been very lucky, but to watch the decline of 120 residents roughly, to watch that decline the past few months, I know that's taken a toll on all of us.
Right.
I know me personally, I had days where it's like I couldn't handle it. Like I have everybody around me is just getting worse. And I know part of our job is to unfortunately watch people get sicker, but it was so rapid, it felt like, because they weren't getting therapy. They couldn't get outside therapy. They weren't going to meals. The only social interaction they had was us. And we did the best we could, but that rapid decline, it was hard. And just in a matter of weeks with some of them, like just in a matter of like from week 1 to week 3, you'd see such a difference. And that probably is one of the worst things I've ever had to deal with too.
That was really hard. And we didn't have the answers to the questions because, the residents every day would say, oh, when are we going to be able to go to the dining room? When is this going to be over? When can I see my family? And we had no idea because no one's ever lived through something like this before. So that was hard to find the words to comfort them sometimes. So that was pretty tough.
Exactly. I think a lot of our residents have seen like the polio epidemic. A few of them know people who were alive during the 1918 flu, but nobody there was, I don't think, right now. But a few of them knew families that were, devastated by that. And a few residents have talked about, I don't know if any of the residents talked about the polio epidemic.
No.
No, a couple have. And there were shutdowns and things, but not at this scale.
Right.
And that was just like an interesting thing to talk to them about. And it's like, so they've seen something similar, but never to this magnitude. And, like you said, the questions, we didn't know the answers. A lot of things in April, we had no idea. There's still a lot we don't know about this virus, but in April, there was a lot we didn't know. And just not being able to tell them when they can do things again, when therapy is going to start back up. And that was really hard. Anytime someone would get sick with a fever,
that was scary.
It was like the worst, like scariest feeling. It's like your heart sunk into your stomach, like. Which
I do have to say, we definitely have an angel on our shoulders or something, because we've been so blessed. We only had one positive COVID resident, so knock on wood, but we really did our best throughout this whole pandemic as a team to keep everyone safe. So
oh yeah, and not just the CNAs though, like the director of nurses, our supervisor, our second shift supervisor made sure in the beginning that all this PPE was ordered so we were protected.
Right.
Wait staff did an amazing job. Maintenance did a great job of disinfecting everything. Housekeeping with the extra cleaning. The CEO walking around with a bottle of Lysol spraying everything down.
His spray bottle. He just walks around spraying everything in the building.
And for him to make sure, like, he didn't care the cost of the masks. He just wanted us to have them. Like, these girls need this equipment to properly care for the residents. And, we don't want them bringing anything in. We know they're going to do their best not to, but, just everybody. I don't think, I mean, as scary as it was and as difficult as it's been, it's just been unbelievable. The teamwork and just the camaraderie and I don't know, everybody in every single department has stepped up.
Really, yeah.
And we need each other. Like, I worked in a facility before where the CNAs would argue with wait staff all the time, and it's like, why? You guys need each other.
Right.
I couldn't have passed out all those meals without wait staff helping. And
exactly.
I think they feel the same way about us. They can't do it alone either. We're the whole building is a team, the whole facility. Yeah. When you work in healthcare, you need everybody. The housekeeping is just as important as the nurses' aides. The nurses' aides are just as important as the director. We need each other. We're a team.
I agree.
And I think when you have that in a healthcare facility, your facility is run well. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, we have an amazing facility that we work for. And our director of nurses and the CEO, like, there was not a day go by where our work didn't go unnoticed or unappreciated. And I think if we just didn't have their direction, it would have made our job so much harder. But we just work under such amazing people that it makes our job easier.
I definitely agree with that. I think, and I know, Jen, you're going to be a nurse someday, and I know you're going to carry that lesson on if you're ever in a full leadership role, which I'm sure you will be. I know you're going to carry that on, like
One of the girls we work with always says to me, make sure you listen to your CNAs when you're a nurse, and I'll seriously carry that with me forever. And so that's why I'm really glad that I got my CNA license before I became an RN, because I really do see how much, like, just the special role that we have and how well we know the residents, and we detect the smallest changes in them. Just even if their personality is off, like, you can just feel that when you walk into their room. It's like, oh, what's, like, is something bothering you today? Like, we notice the smallest changes in these people. So
oh yeah, definitely. And we're also their confidants. Like, they confide in us with things.
Right.
I've had residents tell me personal situations with their family that they're afraid to tell other people because, you know, it's a hard thing that they've been through, and they've talked, and they're like, I just need to talk about it because it's bothering me today. Mm-hmm. Even if it was something that happened 50 years ago or something that happened the other day, a lot of times they'll confide in us, which is important, as, you know, being a mandated reporter for us too, because we are. That's important too, is the trust aspect. Mm-hmm. And
definitely,
you know, that's something I know the residents trust. Jen, they all love you. So.
Love them.
Do you have any funny stories to share?
Oh, I have so many funny stories to share, Sarah. I definitely have a lot of dirty old man comments in my back pocket that I've acquired over the past few years from working at this assisted living facility. Just the other day, I was walking down the hallway and I was in front of a CNA transporting a resident. And I'm walking in front of him and he goes, oh, that must be jelly because jam don't shake like that. And I literally turned the other way and started walking backwards because I was like, I'm not going to continue to walk in front of you right now.
Oh. Any more?
Well, Sarah, do you remember the time that we were just standing in the hallway and a resident comes walking by and she looks at me and she goes, look at that effing a-hole, but using the actual terms. Look at that effing a-hole just standing right there.
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember that, and I want to say I've been called that several times.
Oh yeah, by the same resident, particularly, actually.
Even not so. I think I've been called that so many times working in healthcare. The funniest thing I think I've ever been called was a scarecrow.
A scarecrow? Oh.
Yes. I had a resident once call me a scarecrow. Well, one of my funniest stories actually takes place on an Alzheimer's unit I worked with. Mm-hmm. I was working with a male CNA. We were walking down the hallway, and a female resident came out, and she goes, hey, she goes, I got 2 things to show you. And she looks right at the male CNA and goes, oh yeah, what's that? She lifts up her shirt, jiggles her chest, and goes, these.
Oh my gosh.
Which this guy was like, oh my God. So he's now on the floor. I'm on the floor laughing. And he's like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened to me. And
you really can't make this stuff up.
No. And we have to do another episode on this down the line. But he like couldn't believe that happened to him. And I'm thinking to myself, I get sexually harassed on a daily basis.
No, seriously.
Which isn't funny, but it's true. So Jen, I think in the future we definitely have to do a episode on sexual harassment as a caregiver, and I'd love to have you on for that because it sounds like we have a lot of stories on that.
Yeah, definitely.
And with that, we're gonna wrap up this episode, and because Jen and I have to go to work soon.
Well, thank you for having me, Sarah. This was really fun.
You're welcome, Jen, and you're welcome back anytime.
Oh, thank you.
You can find us, you know where to find me on social media, right?
Yes.
Caregiver Chronicles on Facebook, Caregiver Chronicles 2 on Instagram, CareCron 1 on Twitter. I'm on TikTok, but
she's a cool mom.
I am a fun mom. And You can hear this podcast on anywhere where you hear podcasts. We're on Spotify, Breaker, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Owlcast, Pocket Casts. We're on several different podcast websites. If you Google Caregiver Chronicles podcast, we usually come right up. And I want to thank everybody for listening this week. And I especially want to thank Jen for joining me.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome. And I look forward to seeing you in the future, or hearing you in the future for more episodes.
I'd love to.
All right. See you next week, everyone.
Bye.